So, hello folks, let's go. So that presentation is about crafting a portfolio that gets you hired, aka succeeding as a concept artist in today's seemingly saturated market. Just a quick disclaimer, it's going to be about concept art. I know there's a lot of 3D artists, animators, and other jobs lurking around on the rookies. You can totally get value from that presentation and transpose it to your job. Most of the fundamentals and things I'm going to talk about are easily transposable. So don't worry, don't feel lost. It's easy to follow along, no problem. So succeeding as a concept artist in today's seemingly saturated market, I don't have to paint a painting of how people feel about the industry. People are scared. Let's bring some solution. We're also going to talk about all the dirty little secrets of the industry, especially when it comes to hiring, that they don't want you to know and that you can utilize to your advantage. So this is the framework I'm using with my mentees. As I said before we started the recording, I'm the founder of The Art Nest. I'm running a big mentorship that grows quite big. We're getting followed by studios and such now. So this is the framework I use with my mentees, delivered to you. There's a lot to unpack. It's going to be intense. Don't worry about taking notes. You're going to watch the replay, utilize that moment. And I can guarantee that by the end of the presentation, you will not see how the industry works the same way as before for most of you. So the promise, let's start with that before starting introducing myself a bit more. By the end of the presentation, you will know the universal and battle-tested methodology to craft a banger portfolio that gets you hired reliably, even with zero experience, that allows you to stand out positively in a seemingly saturated market. That point is important. That allows you to tick all the boxes that companies require to hire someone, that gets you paid more if you're already working. So even if you already have a job, you can use that and replicate it at any stage of your career, from junior to super senior, not just on your first job. So it's already valuable to you if you're already working. TLDR, this is what to do to get jobs for real in today's industry, and with some work, reach the top 5% of artists getting the jobs, instead of swimming in the 90% of artists struggling right now and fighting for crumbles. Delivered to you in a no-nonsense, zero BS usual fashion that I'm doing for those who follow me. So let's go. So reach the top 5% of artists getting job instead of being stuck. I'm introducing myself in like 2 minutes. My name is Timothée Mathon. You can call me Tim. I'm a senior concept artist and art director in the AAA video game industry. I've been doing illustration for tabletop RPGs, and now I'm most known for being an art mentor and instructor. This is what I worked on: Ubisoft, Quantic Dream, Netflix, Share Creator, NetEase. You can read. Biggest games: Steep, Rider Republic, Lord of the Rings Rise to War, Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, Total War Warhammer related project, D&D related books, trading card, some project buried into NDAs forever. And I've been teaching in many schools, but the most notorious one that you might know at the rookies is New Edge. You know, the school winning #1 every year in every category, basically. And 2023, I launched The Art Nest. I launched a mentorship. And I was not expecting that, but January 2024, it became my full-time job. It grew very big with a lot of big results. We are getting noticed by a lot of studios who are in touch with me, so I can funnel some students and I can even start training their artists before they onboard them. So it's growing big. That's why I was joking. It's not a school. It's not a mentorship. It's not a studio. It's not an agency. It's something weird in between. TLDR, it's great. And we are having some crazy level ups, like Jess, probably watching right now, going from this before the mentorship to that right now. Fosco, from this to that. Alex, from this and this to that and that. Gail, from this, that and that. Chloe, from this to that and that. And way more. We produced over 1,500 pictures last year. We're already at 600 plus pictures starting from the beginning of the year. We have a lot. And you're going to learn how to level up like that. That's pretty cool. So just to finish about me, it might feel a bit disconnected if I'm talking about my career and all of that. So I want to get back to something similar to your situation. When I was a student in a very bad French school that I shall not mention, I was a terrible student. This is my last school report. It was not glorious. I got kicked out of school. And this is how I was feeling. Man, I had to find a job. Didn't know to do it. I had 6 months before going to mom's home. And I reached out to a former teacher of mine. He worked on Horizon Zero Dawn, on Killzone, on Deus Ex before. And he was like, okay, your deadline is short. I will give you a set of instructions. Do your best to make a portfolio out of that. You won't really have the time to understand the why, but you will understand it later. In December, you apply. I do it as if my life depends on it, because it was. December 19 of 2016, I sent my portfolio to Ubisoft. The next day, they answer positively. Fast forward a few interviews, an art test, and a few meetings in Annecy later, I'm hired at Ubisoft. It was my first ever application, and it was great. But I had a lot of imposter syndrome when I got hired. And for a lot of time, I asked myself, was it luck? Because it was my first application ever. It sounded a bit too good to be true. I had no degree. I was an art school dropout. My CV was a work of art. By the way, this is everything that you should not do for a CV. So it says a lot. I was looking like a dork. I had no social skills. And despite 2 interviews, 1 art test, and 1 month of test period, I got the job and I secured it. So there is no way it was out of pure luck. So it means only one thing. I did well during the interviews, at least decently, and my portfolio carried me like hardcore for the whole application. So that teacher who gave me instruction, massive shout out to him, because he was right. So let's talk about that method that I then used to make my mentorship and refine to make it a bit more actionable. Because most of you might be like, okay, it's cool, you are telling about your life and how cool it is, but what do I do now? Okay, I get it. Let's get started. Before giving you the how-to, we need to talk about the how not to. We need to rip out the band-aid. We need to understand what is not working today and why most artists today get horrendous results when it comes to finding a job and why it's not surprising. So buckle up your seats, grab your emotional support plushie or your cat. It's going to potentially hurt a bit, but we need to rip out that band-aid in order to better understand what to do. So the problem is that most of aspiring artists, I put concept artists, but it's the same for 3D, for animator, and every other job. Their portfolios do not work at all. Their work is not relevant to what companies really need. It's scattered all over the place. Typically, when you are a student and you do stuff for school, and the school is not that great, it lacks intention and pure design. At least for concept art, it would be topology and optimization for 3D. A lot of portfolios are looking like collections of Gumroad tutorials, especially for self-taught artists. And most of the portfolios follow every single threads we have already seen a zillion times. So God of War, Last of Us, now it's going to be Expedition 33. There was Ghost of Tsushima, and we don't know for the next trend. But you've seen the Ghost of Tsushima fan art a zillion times, the Wukong fan art, the Last of Us fan art on ArtStation. Everyone knows when we are talking about that. It's not what studio need. And the problem is that most concept artist portfolios, even when I was doing hiring, it looked like that. They min-max the rendering skill. It's like PS5 Pro level, but the design and problem solving skill is PS1 level, if existing at all. That's a massive problem because rendering, especially for concept art, this is not the most valuable asset you can have. So the problem with that is that a lot of artists today, they focus exclusively on technical skills, rendering, polishing, mimicking famous artists. And it's normal because you have a lot to learn with that. And that's how you're going to kind of flex in front of your buddies and prove that you are good, at least in your head. It's not bad, it's just that companies do not care. I mean, technique is a given. At a certain point, it's good enough or not. If it's not good enough, you're not ready. But if it's good, beyond that, you are not going to score points. You're going to score diminishing return, and they want to see something else. And generally, when they see just one picture, it's enough for them to assess your whole level. Now they want to know about design. Companies want a production-oriented set of artists and not just a technician that does flashy picture. They want someone who makes their life easier for the next team in the pipeline. So you have concept art, then you have the 3D team, the animation, etc. So you want to make their life easier. or look in the chat, everyone doing 3D right now, how does it feel when you work with a crappy ass concept art? Just write it in the chat, you're going to check their reaction. A lot of guesswork, and what happens if you didn't have guesswork, okay? And they want also someone that brings fresh and original ideas and not a Last of Us 2 fan art. So artists and companies do not look for the same thing naturally. What companies want is that you can design and iterate a lot, so you offer them choice and options, and they want you to give the 3D team everything they need to model your design without having to guess, so it saves them time, headache, and eventually money. The problem is that artists, they want something like this. Credit to Tyler Edlin, it's in one of his videos, The Truth About ArtStation. What we see all the time in portfolios and on ArtStation is the visible part of the iceberg. So the flashy picture, the AI crap, the keyframe, the illustration, the marketing art, and we almost never see the submerged part of the iceberg, which is production work and what studios need to turn them into 3D. Again, asking the 3D artists in the chat right now, can you turn that picture, that splash art, into a 3D model? I don't think so. Can you turn that environment into a 3D model? I think it's going to be easier. People in the chat are going to confirm, I guess. So you need to understand that what gets trendy on ArtStation, it's not what the industry needs, it's what we like to consume as artists. Just like the, let's make a slippery comparison with Instagram. Let's say you create an account on Instagram. The body shapes, the anatomies, and the lifestyle you might see on the front page of Instagram on an empty new account, it's not the norm. It's not what is even recommended. It's just what most people on the platform like to consume. It's the same for ArtStation. And even when you see work that is stamped with like the label of a studio or a project, it's generally a careful curation of what they are done, all the flashy pictures, and clearly not the not so fancy sketches. And the reason is they don't want to make the investors afraid. They want it to be like, damn, they have good artists. While if an investor with generally a boomer with no artistic knowledge sees that, they do not have the eye to understand what value there is in it, let's say. So you need to understand that your currency as a concept artist is not what ArtStation wants. It's not the pretty picture. And it's not how well you can render. It's your ability to design and help the 3D team model your design. So in order to picture that, I want to slow down the presentation for a minute. I want everyone close your eyes, take a deep breath, slowly count down to 5, and imagine yourself, you are an art director in a big studio. It's 2 p.m. on a Friday, and you are already thinking about the weekend at the lake you're going to get with your family, your dog, your cat, whatever you fancy. It's going to be amazing, and suddenly you are interrupted in your daydreaming by a Slack notification, or if you are very unlucky, a Microsoft Teams notification. It's the HR, and the HR is telling you, hey, here are all the applications we received that week. Can you please review them before leaving for the weekend? You open the Excel sheet, and suddenly, oh my God, 157 portfolio to reviews. It's 2 p.m., you have to leave at 5. So a question for you, you can reopen your eye. In that situation, what would you do to review all these applications while still being able to leave at 5? Write it in the chat, even though I don't see it right now. But the answer is that you have to be fast. You have maximum 1 minute per candidate, so you have to find any excuse to disqualify as many candidates as possible. You don't have the time to discover the artistic self of everyone or spend 10 minutes per portfolio. It's not possible. And no studio is doing that except with the best of the best applicants. But sometimes you see a picture, you open the link to the ArtStation or to whatever website, and suddenly you have seen enough, you close it, and that's how maybe months, if not a year worth of work can end up in the trash bin in 3 seconds. And this is not a fiction. It happened to me when I was working as an art director on several companies. One anecdote is that I was working on a startup called Polymos a few years ago. It does not exist anymore. It was a no-name company building a prototype. One day we made an announcement on LinkedIn about jobs. We are receiving 75 applications a day, while being no names. So now imagine for AAA studios. like a Disney, Rockstar, Riot Games, any studio that released something fancy. Let's imagine Lion right now after Baldur's Gate. You can probably add at least 1 0. So this is not a fiction. This is what every art director and reviewer is going through. And let's not pretend they are spending 10 minutes per candidate. That's what you read on LinkedIn when someone wants to feel good. We don't have the time. You have 75 applications times 10 minutes. You don't have the time. So you want to know the first little dirty secret about the industry? You want to know the most common thing art directors think when they are looking at portfolios? The most common thing that they think, that they tell themselves is, oh, another one. Another Last of Us fan art, another Gumroad nerd, another someone who mimicked the latest trend. We've seen all. That's how a lot of artists feel. It's like, I'm going to send out so much by following the latest trend, and everyone and their mom is doing that. It's not going to work. It's going to commoditize your work, and you're going to look like clones of each other. And the problem is that it's putting your career at risk because of the law of supply and demand. If what you do in your work is common, it's a copy of everything else, it's easy to replace, it's a commodity, and unfortunately, at least on the market standpoint, I know it's going to hurt, but it has little to no value. And even if you get hired, a studio can always find someone that does the same work as you, but way cheaper from a low-income country like, I don't know, Pakistan, India, and all of that. I don't mean anything bad about those countries, but that's how it happens. Sometimes you have some cheap labor there, and studios, if they can replace someone expensive by the same person but cheaper, they will not hesitate to do it. So rather than racing for the bottom in terms of price, let's talk about how to stand out. And the reaction you want from a recruiter is, oh my God, someone who gets it. That's the reaction you want, okay? So enough meme, let's talk about how you can do that. First of all, let's understand very quickly the hiring process, and then it's about the portfolio, I promise. So there are 3 questions to prove that you understand what is required in production. And that you understand the hiring process. So do you understand what is required in the production for the 3D modelers and what they need? So you can help them to model your design while removing the guesswork and the time needed. Can you design things, solve problems, and iterate? So you can have a conversation with the art director and they pick the best designs instead of imposing one design by default and they have to stick with that and they're going to hate you. And 3, can you bring fresh and prospective ideas to the table that are relevant to what we do, the studio, so you can bring creative value and not fan arts or clones or the latest tutorial or latest trend. Tell that to yourself. If it's trendy, it's already too late. So you need to see the hiring process like an intellectual duel, and you need to get them to abdicate. You need to anticipate, parry, and diffuse all the objections they can throw at you. And if they cannot find a reason to disqualify your work, it means that your portfolio is good enough, and they have no way but to abdicate and forward you to the next stage of the hiring process. So that presentation is all about anticipating that. I think you get it with the clones of clones and clones, the OS another one effect. And the problem is that 95% of applicants, as I said at the beginning, don't even get it because they don't pass the first question. Do you understand what is required in production for the 3D modelers and what we need? And the spoiler is, it's not fancy pictures. Good, we circle back to the initial point. I think that part is done. You need to also understand that hiring someone is a massive gamble for the company, even more if you have no previous experience. I can talk about that very precisely because I'm starting to work with studios to train people before they are onboarded. And some studios, they tell me when they hire a junior or mid-level, they need to onboard the person, that they need to train the person for 3 to 6 months before they are ready to be autonomous and to start become profitable. These 3 to 6 months worth of training, on the average, what I've seen in Europe at least, it costs between 25 and 100K euros to train that person. Because some seniors are going to spend their time training the person and not producing stuff. It's going to take a lot of resource, a lot of time. They don't get stuff done. They get behind on the schedule and cost them a lot of money. And all the paychecks are rolling while not producing value yet. So it's a massive gamble, and your goal is to minimize that gambling time and that risk that studios have when seeing your work as a junior. So let's talk about how to craft a portfolio that proves you understand what is required in production, proves you understand what the specific studio you are aiming at wants, that stands out positively and is not a clone of clone of clone, acts as a breath of fresh air for the reviewer because they see 95% the same stuff, and gets you hired. All of that, the goal of those points is to minimize the risk when hiring you. So let's get ready. Step number 1, very easy. You need to find companies that you are compatible with. So the problem is that a lot of artists, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're a junior, you're like, I want to work on God of War. I want to work on The Last of Us. I want to work on Elden Ring. I want to work at Riot, Blizzard, etc. That's amazing. 2 questions. Are those studios hiring juniors? Probably not. Because they are so elitist and everyone wants to work there, they can be picky. And are they accessible in terms of visa for you? Let's say you are in Europe, you're applying to studio in the US. Do you have an American visa to go there? If the answer to any of them is no, it costs nothing to apply, but hold your expectations low, because chances are, even if your work is amazing, it's going to be very hard for them to work with you, just because for visa reason they can't. So you need to find studios that are compatible with juniors and that are also visa compatible with you. Before that, make sure they do things that you like. Very important. Second thing, make sure they are junior friendly. And a lot of people, and that's a common meme that we see on LinkedIn, it's like, hey, even an entry-level job requires a zillion years of experience, or do you get experience in the first place? And you have to prove you get it. You have to prove you get it. The little secret is that if a studio posted a job with 0 experience in it, they will open the floodgate. Everyone and their mom will apply. Every amateur on the planet will think they have a chance. It will be thousands of applications. And I know it sounds like boohoo, leave the billion company dollar alone, but they don't have the time for that. So the 3 years of experience required is a filtering tactic that filters out a lot of unqualified people or people that are doubting. This way, the ones applying will either already have that experience or be confident enough to apply anyways. That's what happened to me with my first job at Ubisoft, and that's exactly what the HR told me once I got hired and I asked her about that. The job was requiring 3 years of experience, so I had 0. You compensate for lack of studio experience, so that's if you have 0 years of experience and you are feeling disenfranchised, seeing all those studios requiring a billion year of experience, you compensate for lack of studio experience by showing you understand production works and how design works. This is what I call design maturity. And this is by understanding the need the 3D artist have, or the next person after you in the pipeline has. This is what we're going to see right now. So, how to find a company that is junior friendly? So, you need to search for artists with the same job as you want. So there is one way. You type the company name or the product name plus concept art plus ArtStation, and instead of concept art, it could be any job like 3D, whatever, plus ArtStation. Example, Mode Visual Concept Art ArtStation. Go directly on ArtStation and you check all the artists there, okay? And you make a list of all those artists. Or else, you can check the credit of a game or a movie and search the artist. To have websites with credits of games and movies, you have Moby Games for games and you have IMDb Pro. You click on the name of a game, you click on the credit, and you use the Control F option to search, let's say, concept artists. You're going to pick the name of every concept artist. You open their ArtStation, and also you open their LinkedIn for each artist. We're going to stalk them a bit, and you're going to check on their resume when they started working at the company you are aiming at. You can also connect with them and send them a little message, by the way. And now you're going to do the math, and you're going to check how many years of experience they had before joining that studio. If it's 3 years or less, consider that the studio is accessible with a proper portfolio. If none of them at the studio had 3 years of experience or less, consider that the company is not hiring juniors. Good? And what is good is that in their other experience, you can find more studios and do that research even more and find even more artists and even more studios that are accessible. So this should debunk the biggest struggle, the 2 of the biggest struggles that artists have. how to find companies besides the famous one, and also how to find companies that are actually hiring juniors. And all the names of artists you have found, you separate them in two categories for the junior-friendly companies. On one side, the art directors and seniors of that studios, and on the other side, the juniors. And finally, make sure they are accessible in terms of visa. So I'm not a visa expert, but check out, ask ChatGPT if your visa would allow you to work there. If the studio is not accessible, do they have a precedent of hiring freelancers? So normally, having found the artists working at the studio and check their LinkedIn, if you see freelance, maybe there's a chance. If they don't, do they outsource the work to other studios in countries accessible with your visa? So let's say you want to work on God of War at Sony Santa Monica. You are from Europe. You cannot access the US. They outsource their work to at least 2 studios in Europe, which is Mode Visuals in Denmark and also to Character in Germany. So if you have a European visa, Sony Santa Monica in Santa Monica is not available, but Mode and Character might be accessible visa-wise. And that's an indirect way to work on that big title. At the end of that step, ideally, you have found 5 or 6 companies that you like that are working on somewhat similar projects that are junior friendlies. And working on similar projects, it could be outsourcing for the same studio, by the way, or for the same product, that are quote-unquote junior friendly and that are accessible with your current visa. Okay? I insist on the somewhat similar product because we're going to make an average of what they do. Again, if you don't know about that many studio, Game Dev Map, Moby Games, and IMDb Pro. Once you have that, you need to understand their art direction and how to close the gap with them. This is to understand what they want. So this is the step that everyone misses, and I want you to pay close attention. I know that some of you might be like, he's not talking about art, I just want to draw. No, that's not enough. You need to think like a business because you are in the service business. I know the term business and marketing, artists are allergic to that. You are still in a business that makes billions of dollars per year. So whether you want it or not, the rules of business apply. It's just that it's art. But your art is there to solve a problem that they have, just like any other business. You are not solving problem. Nobody wants to buy that because that's not a solution, you know? So pay close attention to that step because everyone thinks that they get it. Nobody wants to do that. And you can ask the mentees. I'm pretty sure some of them in the chat are going to confirm. Look at those with the seagull profile picture. It takes a bit of time to do, but you save months of work because you know where you are going. So every time you're going to tell, meh, I know how they do it already, I know it, no need to dive deep about that, that's where you'll destroy your chances of properly targeting the company. Everyone is mimicking mindlessly the artwork they see online and nobody gets a job. That's probably because they don't do enough research. You want to prove you understand what companies want in depth and that you are a specialist about that. Good. This is exactly what I illustrated. When you do research, you feel like that and you're going to save a lot of time. When you don't do research, you have no effing clue of what you are doing and you're going to crash on the doors of the industry and not understand why. And that's how you see a lot of salty people on LinkedIn at the moment saying that the industry is broken, that it's over. No, most people, they don't get it. So understanding their art direction. By art direction, I mean the visual cooking recipe that they use all the time to make their work consistent and emblematic of that studio. You look at Assassin's Creed, they have a certain art direction. You look at Borderlands, it's another art direction. You look at Riot, they are using always the same visual codes. At that stage, do not focus on technical and rendering, please, just art direction. So, step 1, for each of the companies you got that are junior friendly from the previous step, grab the work from their artist. No need to pick 50 pictures, 10 to 15 per studio is enough. Curate the selection to not have just keyframe and splash art, also have sketches and stuff that is representative of the whole pipeline. Same for 3D art, okay? Have topologies, etc. Have a nice balance between polished pictures and production work, so callouts, props, iteration for 3D is going to be breakdowns, topology, trim sheets, materials, etc. For the companies you got, here we go. So if the artists that you have found that are working at that studio are generalists, by the way, the studio probably wants you to be a generalist. If they are all specialists, the studio probably wants you to be specialist too. If you find both, they are probably okay with both. So I'm going to shotgun through all those points, but again, don't worry, you have the replay, you would be able to screenshot all of that and to grab all of it. So don't worry, it's a lot of information, but that's fine. On those pictures, point by point, you isolate each and every of those points and you study the pictures, study the composition structure they use all the time, the color palette that they use, the value range, the hue, the saturation, the lighting and shadow formulas that they use all the time on their picture, the storytelling elements and what they want to tell with them, or the overlap element on their characters or scene, the recurring elements and themes that they are using in every pictures, the shape language they are using all the time, the camera angle, the mood, what types of game genres they are designing for. Is it hack and slash? Is it third-person game? Because let's say you apply to Larian with a first-person shooter, guess what? They are making only CRPGs. So your work might be good, it's not what they are looking for. Emotions and sensation that they want the viewer to have. Where are we? When is it? Who is there in the picture? Why is it entertaining? How is it compelling? That's kind of basic question. For the where, when, who, why, how, have a look at Feng Zhu's video number 110 called The Spirit of Entertainment Design. It's going to be faster than me expanding on that. We are talking about the why their design choices make sense for the type of product they are working on. I don't want you to just like, oh, they have epic lighting. No, explain why it feels epic. For any kind of generic term you may find, ask yourself why and how 6 or 7 times in a row. So as I was saying, the lighting is epic. What do you mean by epic? Well, it's golden hour, it's backlighting, it makes silhouette, it makes things feel like heroic and inspiring. Okay, why is it inspiring? Because that's the beginning of an adventure, etc. Try to beat yourself into submission intellectually as if it was a 4-year-old kid asking yourself why all the time. You want to explain things deeply and go full circle about that, so it's crystal clear for you. You're going to process a lot of pictures from the studios until you start seeing recurring elements across all these pictures and all these different studios. That's good. That's exactly what you want. At the beginning, analyzing this picture will take some time, but once you find these recurring elements, at some point you see a picture and in 30 seconds you have dissected everything. That's exactly what you want, because you will always find the same thing, and that's the visual cooking recipe that you are finding right there. Then you do the same for the junior, you will realize that the codes are exactly the same, it's just that the technical execution is not as good. That's fine. The juniors, it's just there as a benchmark to realize that it's accessible, it's not to learn. You're going to learn from the seniors. You're going to summarize your research to establish an average art direction document for these studios. This is based on the recurring elements that you have found. Now, you're going to do exactly the same, but this time for the technical execution. So you will ask yourself these 2 questions in parallel. What are every single step of their process to make a picture, from the sketch to reference gathering to the finish of the picture? So brainstorming, gathering references, early sketches, specific sketches, call-out sheet, props, final render, something like that. Try to break down precisely how they do things at that studio, because sometimes it differs between the studios. Figure out what tools and software they are using, if there are any specific. And you want to retro-engineer how they make this picture by yourself, not by following a tutorial mindlessly. Following a tutorial mindlessly, you're going to just copy what you see. You're rarely going to get something and make something new out of that. Retro-engineering, it's a bit harder, but asking yourself those questions, it's a skill you develop that you can keep for your entire career. And it's also going to be way more efficient, and you're going to see why in a few minutes. Understanding is better than following along. So then you analyze every step of their rendering process. Line work, if any, coloring, lighting, texturing, painting, material, volume, posing for characters, modeling, shader, lighting, scattering, detailing for 3D. And now you make a summary of what you have. You have the art direction, you've done the technical process, and you have done the rendering. You're going to do the same thing that you did for those studios, but for your work. Art direction, technical process, rendering, and you're going to compare your work with theirs on every single point. This is the average of how you are doing things versus the average of how pros are doing things. This is how you level up, guys. I know it sounds tedious, but this is how you level up. You need to face reality, and you need to know what are the most drastic changes between your work and theirs that you have to implement to close the gap. And if you are done your analysis thoroughly, that's how we circle back to what we said before. Normally, because you have retro-engineered their entire process, you already know now what to do to close that gap. It should be obvious. And because you cannot unsee it anymore, you will do your best to implement it naturally. Congrats, you cannot unsee these changes and you know how to fix them. So naturally, you will implement them. Don't freak out. There's no need to apply 100% of what seniors do. It's this kind of 80-20 rule, like 80% of the results are driven by 20% of the effort. Just implementing 80 to 20% of seniors' abilities to your work, it should be fast. And if you do that for each aspect of your process, it's enough to skyrocket your level above junior level. I know some people might wonder when to use tutorial. I would say to learn a tool or software you have never used before, let's save time. Or if the tutorial is laser focused on one super duper specific part of the process you want to understand. If it's a tutorial like, hey, I'm a big artist with a fancy project on my resume. Let me show you how I used, how I create an entire keyframe for that specific project so you can do the same and potentially work on that project. You're just going to see someone do their comfort zone. You might learn one thing or two, but you will just copy what they do. So careful about that. Honestly, spending 2 or 3 weeks doing all the research I just mentioned previously, it sounds extremely boring and tedious. It's going to save you months of work because you're going to work on a portfolio work that you know is relevant, tick the boxes of every studio, and you know exactly what to do to tick their boxes. Otherwise, you're just sleepwalking through the process. And it's a bit like, let's say you are crossing the country by car without a GPS. It's going to be way faster with a GPS. 3, now that you have that, it's time to plan your portfolio. Okay, full disclaimer, because everyone gets it wrong about portfolios. I did a live stream last week about exactly that, and a lot of people got it wrong. We are not writers, we are designers. Your portfolio is just an excuse to 3 things. 1, that you understand what the production team requires and what the company needs. Back to the 3 questions that I mentioned initially. 2, that you can design cool and compelling content based on a brief with a lot of drastically different iterations. And 3, that your technique is good enough. So please, pick a subject that is easy to understand. If you're a 3D artist, by the way, pick concept art from existing artists. Do not try to invent something. Ask them if you can do it and do it. Preferably concept artists working at the studios you are aiming at. This way you are modeling in the style of what they do. But please do not be that guy. Super personal project, 153 pages of lore, branching backstories, makes its own language, crazy world building with rules, genealogical tree for every family. Do not be the Tolkien of concept art. I love Tolkien. But if it was the brief, if the Lord of the Rings was a brief for a portfolio, at least the full story, it will be too complex. Pick a simple famous story, one big twist, design cool shit, hired. So my tip, do not try to reinvent the wheel. Do not pick a super duper personal project. I know we all have that, me including in some drawers, tons of IPs and personal stuff, or OC don't steal that we share and such. No, pick something easy to recognize, like an existing story, a culture, a myth, trope, preferably that has not been adapted into a zillion games or movies recently. Keep it grounded. Add a twist to it that changes the rule of its world. That's all. Let's have some example. The Treasure Island, but in Art Nouveau style. I have never seen an Art Nouveau ship. I want to see one. The Three Musketeers in 1920s New York Art Deco style. Instead of being a musketeer, you are a spy. You can add a bit of esotericism if you want. Elves, but instead of eating salads in the forest, you are in a volcano with lava instead, and they are worshipping a phoenix and forging metal stuff, like metal elves. Cool. That's a twist on an existing trope that is easy to recognize. You need to make sure that your subject is design heavy, but not too complicated. So that's why you need to add a twist that is drastically changing the rules it creates a set of problems that you can solve visually. For example, French Revolution, but magic replaces gunpowder and firearms. French Inquisition, but the folkloric bestiary is real. And French Inquisition has to face a dilemma because they have to use magic. Italian Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci is turning his students into superheroes with his invention. He's going to do a heist. That's like the Italian Renaissance version of Casa de Papel. Pretty cool. Make sure the subject is compatible with the companies you picked. So please sincerely ask yourself if the studio you are aiming at will make such a project. That's what I was saying with Lion Studio before. They are doing CRPGs. If you come to them with like a shooter, there's nothing they can do with that. You apply to id Software making Doom with a narrative game like Life is Strange, where there is no combat, it's a walking simulator. They don't give a crap. So yeah, think about that. And please, I know a lot of people are going to grind their teeth right now and going to feel called out in the chat. Avoid the trendy subject that we have seen a gazillion times on ArtStation or in recent IPs. Japan, samurai, ancient Asia overall. If you want to see how ridiculous it's going to be in terms of amount of release regarding Japan and ancient Asia in the video game landscape that year, have a look at the video from a video game donkey called The Future of AAA Gaming. It's crazy. Avoid Cyberpunk, the trend is gone. Avoid Vikings, we have seen too many of them. Avoid modern military shooters in civil war settings. Avoid post-apocalyptic, or else if you are really stubborn, it's up to you. Bring a mega twist that brings the subject towards something fresh. You want to pick like ancient Asia? Make it like a school from Harry Potter. We know how Hogwarts looks. We know how Durmstrang looks in Eastern Europe. We know how Beauxbaton looks roughly in France. We don't know about a magic school from Harry Potter in Asia. Find something original out of that. Just an idea. Or in, I don't know, Latin America, Mayan inspired. I don't know. That's an example. Please, do not think about a story. We are not writer. Think about gameplay. A core gameplay loop, not the full intricacies of it. Example, it's a hero shooter, third person. It's a team of 5 pirates with abilities. You pilot a ship and you have to sink the enemy ship. This is literally Marvel Rivals mixed with Sea of Thieves. You have the gameplay, everyone understands the archetype based of the hero shooter. Everyone understands Sea of Thieves and sinking a ship. You see the gameplay, it's very evocative. Stealth game, first person, 3 Musketeers in 1920s, you play as D'Artagnan. Everyone gets it. Hack and slash top-down view, you play as a heretic during French Inquisition, killing monsters with weapons and magic. Everyone gets it. One little thing about your project, if you cannot pitch it in 2 sentences max, it's too complex. And nobody will understand. Finally, pick something that you really like because you're going to get married to that subject for a lot of hours and you need to like it. If you don't like it, if it feels like a chore, we're going to feel it in your work and it's going to feel like a chore to review your portfolio. Whatever emotion you put in your portfolio, people are going to feel the same when consuming it. If you liked it, if you had fun, people will have fun reviewing your portfolio. If it was nothing but pain and suffering and blood, insert Evanescence music in the background, is going to be a pain and suffering to watch. Let's talk about the portfolio and what to do and what not to do. Avoid the one-trick ponies type of portfolio doing only one thing, like only, I don't know, only dragons, only pin-up characters, only, I don't know, only mega buildings in sci-fi cyberpunk, only OC don't steal. Avoid the jack of all trade, master of none. So typically, I know it's going to hurt a bit. There's a lot of people from the rookies currently at school. If your portfolio by the end of the year looks like there are 15 different projects you did at school, the problem with that is that only a fraction of that portfolio is going to be relevant to any studio you apply. And let's say you send that full portfolio to a studio, maybe 20% of it is relevant, and the rest, it's not that it's bad, it's just that they don't know what to do with it. So it's better to present yourself as a specialist about something. So play to your strength. Your portfolio is only as good as your worst pieces. So if you are good at environment design and bad at characters, if you are that bad at character, probably don't put it. A former teacher of mine was telling us with his Eastern Europe accent, if you're not good at it, don't show it. So yeah, today artists are equally really as good, are really as good for characters and environments, so play to your strength. A nice balance, it's like 70% of your portfolio being one specialty and 30% of a complementary thing, like 70% environment, 30% props, 70% characters, 30% props, 70% character, 30% environment, etc. If you are equally as good for character and environment, you can do 50% one thing, 30% one other thing, and 20% props. In any case, especially as juniors, always have props, because this is what you are the most likely to do as a junior. So, for environment design, what I advise you to do, instead of the mega building, the superstructure, the flashy keyframe, the wall building stuff that we see from the flashy studios, keep it human level, okay? One shop or function building, like a blacksmith, a tavern, an alchemist, a cartography store, a temple, something like this. You do the interior and the exterior. Something like this. Or this. Those are some work of the mentees, by the way. Do a house, interior and exterior, to show the story of the characters living in it, as if you were Sherlock Holmes picturing the life of people through the object. Something like that. One big architectural landmark. This is to have fun. This is a castle, a temple, a fortress, a big boat. Please avoid a giant tower that is 2 kilometers tall in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense. Let's get that to remain a meme from 2015. Something like this. The boat. This is crazy complex to do. And do something that I call the wild card, which is something mechanic heavy and unexpected, like a boss arena, a big machine, puzzles, vehicle, something like that. The Trojan horse, that forge is beautiful. And right there, those are more some props and modular kits. Props, show them like dioramas with several stuff, not just one table like that, but populate it already. More props like this, etc. You're doing characters, do one protagonist and the sidekick. So like a pet, mount, robot. So something like this, or something like that. With the little pet. Spoiler alert, this is not a junior who made that. Don't be scary. This is not even a little psychic. This is a giant ass griffin right there. This is amazing. Do 2 or 3 notable characters that are like orbiting around the main character, like psychics, important characters, things like that. Things like this. Or like that. Like the followers. You know you are playing Baldur's Gate. I know that every character is having like protagonist level of design, but there is your Tav, and let's say you pick Halcyon, Orin, Gortash, Keteric, the Emperor. Those are what I would deem like notable character, or like Alfira, the Tiefling Bard, notable characters like this. And then some NPCs, some background characters. This is again what you are the most likely to do as juniors, like merchant, commoners, filler NPCs, guards, things like that. Give them a specific function, a flair. We need to understand their function immediately. That's good. Fisherman. Right there we have a woodworker, gatherer, tavern keeper, fisherman, etc. And have fun with a wildcard like a big monster, a boss, something like this. And always have some props again and again and again and again and again, etc. Good. For generalist portfolio with more environment, you can do the shop and the NPCs in it, a house and the characters in it, a big architectural landmark and a wild card. If you're generalist, more heavy towards character, protagonist and their sidekick plus their house or habitation, 2-3 notable characters, a few NPCs and their shop, and 1 wild card. For each chapter, so the protagonist sidekick is 1 chapter, house and habitation is another chapter, notable character is another chapter, you get the drill. Have 1 or 2 polished pictures, at least 1 call-out sheet like a turnaround, texture sheet, cutaway, anything to help the 3D team per chapter. Props and everything the 3D team needs, like 2D VFX, materials, dynamic poses, costume design, skins, furniture, anything you need. at least one page explaining how things work, like mechanism, breakdowns, layering of armor if it's complex, something like this. And a curated selection of sketches showing drastically different iterations. So this is an example. That will be the polished picture. That will be the turnaround with some layering for the clothes and a bit of body damage at the same time, so you can do several birds, one stone. This is a turnaround right here with tons of material sheets. So again, 2 birds, 1 stone. Costume design, initial iterations and sketches, dynamic poses, a bit of breakdowns regarding certain selling points of the character, always a bit of storytelling with cats and things like this. A mount, and again, the props of the mount, more props. For environment, that will be the same with like callouts right there for the main building, interior callout again, iterations, props of the main selling point, mechanism heavy stuff showing how it works, more sketches to show it works in iteration at the same time, props to populate the scene, flashy picture. Good. A few more tips. Do not step on seniors territory. Do junior content. That's why I was talking about all the keyframe, the Last of Us 2 fan art, the main character for League of Legends and all of that. Okay, just an example. If some of you played Zenless Zone Zero, I don't know if you remember the trailer about Jane, the deadly interrogation. It was very, very good marketing. Let's say they knew their player audience. That character made $52 million in a week after release. There is no way you give a $52 million a week character design desk to a junior. There's too much money involved. It's like giving the design of Iron Man to a junior for the next Marvel franchise. It's going to be billions of dollars, like toys if the movies are selling, Halloween costume, tattoos, posters, etc. That's too much money. They're going to give that to the senior people. What you're going to do is the secondary and tertiary stuff. It's not to shatter your dream. It's just that everyone started there, and this is the price to pay to access better product. So things like costume design, skin, props, tertiary characters, filler environment, populating scenes, things like this. For junior stuff, do not have only the cool senior stuff. So as I was saying, have costume design and skins, weapon and gear, NPCs, secondary and tertiary assets and characters, beast and trinkets. For environment design, have shops, secondary and tertiary buildings, props and furniture, small mechanisms, set dressing, things like that. When I did that presentation the first time, it took an hour and a half. It took 55 minutes right now. So I think everyone needs a cigarette. Everyone might be like, man, okay, that's a lot. Let's fast forward 6 months from now. Let's imagine I have done everything. What do I do now? Let's talk about application practice. Do not squander your portfolio with poor application practice. I put that. I know some people may be like, you told us it was about portfolio. This is about not squandering your hard work. Okay, you are going to spend hundreds of hours on that portfolio. So, and so many artists, I'm zoning on LinkedIn all day long. I'm building a big audience on LinkedIn. I hate that platform just like everyone else. And I see so many artists, they do not even realize they are squandering their reputation by terrible acting on internet and with application overall, despite that work being very good. So do not squander that. Applying as rules, respect them, otherwise you are ending like Boromir. Spoiler alert. No, that's fine. That's a 20 plus years old movie. That's okay. So you need to understand that every step of the hiring process is meant to filter out candidates. So you can be filtered out by the document you sent. You need to respect the rules. Your portfolio is going to account for 90% of your application, but still, your artistic abilities are not good enough. You're going to be filtered out. First interview to test your social skill, to introduce yourself. If they don't get a good feeling from you, they might disqualify you. Potential art test to verify your skill again. You succeed at it, that's good. You fail at it, disqualify. Second interview to check your team play ability, etc. And there's going to be less and less and less candidates until there is only one, just like Highlander. So a quick tips on good practice. Check your CV and letters. I know that everyone hates cover letters, me included. It's boring. Almost nobody reads that. But you want to know one thing that reads it? It's called the ATS. Go check after a presentation on Google what is an ATS. There's plenty of tutorials on Google on how to make your work ATS compatible. But TLDR, it's an AI, a little bot that is going to scan your document and search for keywords that are matching the job description. It was supposed to filter out the candidates that have nothing in common with the job initially. Let's say you're applying for 3D art. There's someone with graphic design skills that apply, boom, out. The problem is that today it filters out like crazy. So better be ATS compatible. So quick list of good practice. But again, you're going to check some tutorials on Google on how to do it. Make sure the CV and letters are text documents with selectable text. Avoid content that the ATS cannot read, like pictures, logos, those little skill bars as I was showing on my wonderful CV back from 2016. Use plain text formatting like bold, italics, bullet point only. Curate the keywords and content to fit the job description requirement. And have a clickable and obvious link to your portfolio on your CV, because if it gets reviewed by a human, the first thing you check as an art director is not the CV, it's just the blue link towards the portfolio, and you check that. And if this is good, then you're going to check the CV. When you are showing your portfolio, I know that a lot of people are going to be called out again. I apologize. This is out of love, folks. Have a good user experience. Do not overcomplicate things. And make it easy to consume your portfolio. If your portfolio is a Wix website that takes forever to load, there are 17 buttons to access just one picture, escape key doesn't work, life is too short, art directors are going to close your application. So ideally, keep it straight to the point. In an ideal world, we find the link to your portfolio, we click on it, we just have, it loads instantly, we just have to scroll to consume the work. As little clicks or extra step as possible, guys. ArtStation is good. Please keep the default UI because people are used to it. And another detail is that the custom UI, the escape key doesn't work, and it's pissing me off. It's pissing off a lot of people because you have to find a little cross hidden somewhere that is gray on black generally. It's a nightmare. Keep the default UI, that's fine. On ArtStation, if you are using that, make a portfolio album rather than sending your ArtStation profile, and send the link towards that portfolio album rather than the full profile. This way, when you are on the album, there's just 3 to 6 projects max, and it's not overwhelming. The rest goes in an album called old work, because if you send your profile, they don't have the context. If they see some work from you that is 7 years old that is very bad, they don't have the context. And as I said, you are only as good as your worst pieces. So be careful with that. They don't have the context, you are not around to explain that. Or else, even simpler, you create one post on ArtStation with your full portfolio in it. This way, all the reviewer has to do is open it and scroll. And there's no choice. This is very good because it allows you to control what the reviewers see and in which order they see it. If you give them choice and they skip something with several pictures, they are skipping potentially the crucial stuff that could have gotten you hired. You send only one post, they just have to scroll, you control what they see and in which order, and there's no negotiation around that. And you control the user experience, and it's easy, it's smooth. Even with one finger, you can navigate it. If you need a website, put your portfolio on one page. Not sponsored, but I like card, but please do not have a dot card at the end, have a domain name. Otherwise it looks amateurish. And it's good because it's a one-page portfolio, it's responsive, it works on mobile and such, so it's pretty cool. But ArtStation is fine, okay? It's only if you need a real website, get a domain name, get card, it's free, and boom, you're good. So have a header with your name, professional photo, job title, location, and a 2-line summary of your expertise. Let's say Billy Smith, 22 years old, France, specialized in environment design and historical fantasy. Boom, that's it. Avoid all the LinkedIn jargon like I'm turning art directors' visions to life by creating compelling and mind-blowing visionary architects of... No. Simple. Concept artist specialized in environment. Have the contact infos, clickable email address or button to contact you. that is going to redirect towards your email. Show your work and write your email. Do not have just a button, write your email down below. And you show your work, and all you have to do is scroll. They should not have to click to enlarge your pictures. And a contact button, again, with your email, and a potential little call to action. Let's work together, something like that. And potentially underneath, social link, ArtStation, LinkedIn. That's pretty much it. And a link to download or access your CV if you want. Next, interviews. You need to prepare your interviews. I'm pretty sure everyone told you that. I know that a lot of artists feels like that Pikachu right now when it's about having social skills. It's okay. They know we are weird social Pokemons. That's fine. We are very weak to social things. We are the introverted type of Pokemons. That's fine. How to prepare for interview? You need to do your research about them, about the company, their values, their work, the artists working there, and their project. There's nothing worse than a candidate that arrives that has not done their research and doesn't even know what they are supposed to do. It's a red flag. It shows you do not care. So why should a company care for you? Do your research about your process and what they expect from their artist. Technically, you have already done that with step 1 and step 2. That's good. And do your research about how much money you may ask. Check on Glassdoor, check some average. Ask some colleagues if you don't know. Do not undersell yourself, please. Prepare an elevator speech to introduce yourself in like 30 seconds. Hello, my name is this. I'm that year old. I'm a concept artist specialized in this and that. I have studied at this. 30 seconds max. Prepare a way to explain your process and what you are thinking about during every step. So not how do you do things, but why you are doing it this way. Very important. And if you can time yourself when you are doing your portfolio, you can give precise breakdown on how much time it takes you to do something. Think about something unique in your way of designing and solving problems. Again, it's not, oh, I'm using 3D code. No, nobody cares. But if you start from storytelling, for example, and you extract the keywords and it works well and it shows in your work, that might be a good answer to what do you bring to the table? Why should we hire you when we have other candidates? What is special about you? Everyone fumbles about that question. And please prepare arguments to negotiate price in your favor, not just that's the average I found on Glassdoor. There are plenty of videos to prepare arguments. So again, you can do your research about that, but if you say that's the average I found on Glassdoor, nothing entitles you to that. It's an average. There's going to be more and less. Just because you found an average, it's not an easy win. The best example of things you can find for negotiating is, again, when you do your research about the companies, their value and what they brag about. Let's say a studio is in a big city and they try to lowball you on the price during an interview. And on their website, you have seen that they proudly brag about how much they care about work-life balance. You might say, well, you're trying to lowball, you're not going to say that they are trying to lowball me, but you're going to say something like, well, the price that you gave me, given the cost of living in that city, is going to force me to go in the suburbs 1 hour away from the studio, potentially with roommates. And I'm not sure that commuting 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour to come back home without accounting for traffic accidents and living with roommates I don't know in potentially a shady place is a good way for me to start my career. And I'm a bit surprised of that because you said you wanted and that you are proudly in favor of work-life balance. It does not seem very coherent. That's how you negotiate, by pointing the inconsistencies. I'm not telling you to be a bad person. I'm not telling you to be mean or cruel, just factual. And they don't want to look bad. They're going to try to do exactly the same with you. That's how negotiation works. It's about who can spot the most inconsistencies to the other side. This is how you negotiate. If you say, well, that's an average, they're going to tell you, yes, but there is more and there is less. And actually, you deserve less, you know. And also prepare the answer to the most common behavioral interview question. Again, you can Google it. There's tons of that. You can ask ChatGPT to get you to train on that. It's the stupid questions, like where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you are an animal, what would it be? How many tennis balls can you fit in a limousine? I'm not expecting artists and art directors to ask you that questions because they don't care. It's cringe. But if you apply to big studios and you get interviewed by big studios like let's say the Ubisoft, EA, the big corporate one, the big giant, is going to be way more corporate, way more HR heavy. At some point, you will face an HR alone and not just an art director. And the HRs are those who are more susceptible to ask you those weird questions. Whew. We had 204 slides. So, to summarize, we saw how to figure out which companies you can apply to, how to understand what they want in terms of art direction and technique, how to craft a portfolio that ticks their boxes and gets you to stand out positively, how to make sure you don't squander your chances of getting reviewed, how to prepare for interviews. Stacked together at equal technique, it gives you a massive advantage over your concurrents. Can we all agree on that now? What do I do now? Now it's time to apply with volume. Sometimes I get some artists into calls. I'm doing some portfolio audits for those who want to join the mentorship. And sometimes I see some great artists with great work. They're like, it's been 2 years that I'm not finding jobs. And then my question immediately is how much do you apply? And sometimes I'm getting answer like, well, I applied twice that year. No wonder they don't get a job, you know? You need volume. And once you have done everything right for your portfolio, it's not a matter of if you are going to get hired, it's a matter of when. And the when, you need to reduce it by forcing luck. And volume negates luck. This is a quote from Alex Hormozy. This is not mine. So the question is how to get that many opportunities to apply, because most people, I'm pretty sure most of you who started applying, you're looking for job offers on LinkedIn, ArtStation, company website, and you are going crazy because there's not that much and it's a lottery ticket and you never get answers. The solution to that is cold emailing and spontaneous application and networking. For that, you need patience and a super relevant portfolio. You are planting seeds for later, and if they like your work, you will save them time. So by cold emailing, I mean reaching out to companies speculatively without asking their permission and telling them, hey, I'm available for work, here's my portfolio. If at some point you're looking for something or someone, I'm available. As simple as that. The advantage of that is that you don't have to wait for a job offer to appear, to apply. And you can also send those messages to pretty much everyone you want. So virtually an infinite amount. And in the first step, with the Moby Games and LinkedIn stuff, you know how to find technically as many studios as you want. Moby Game, check the credit, check the artist, check their LinkedIn. All the studios they worked at, those are potentially susceptible to apply. All those studios, you find more artists, you repeat that, you have thousands of studios, more than you can apply to. Do not only spam recruiters, by the way, and there's no need to ask artists on LinkedIn, hey, can you give me a job? They are not in power. What you can do with artists is network with them. Ask them for feedback politely, not just, hey, I like your work, please give me feedback. Something polite, something personalized, etc. is going to be a bit easier. Respect their time, show that you care, show it's not a copy-pasted message. They are more likely to answer if they see it's genuine. And be precise when you ask for feedback. It's not feedback, please, is I know you are specialized in that. Can you help me on that specific task to achieve this specific result? I know you're specialized in that. It's less overwhelming, it's easier. When they give you feedback, your priority is to apply that feedback and send them an update with drastic improvement. Not a 5-minute fix, drastic improvement. There's nothing better in terms of feeling for a teacher than seeing a student improve and the feedback used properly and granting results. So you are literally creating a feedback loop with that person and building a relationship to encourage them to give you more feedback so you level up more. And if at some point there's a studio they work at looking for someone, they can recommend you. You need to understand that 10% of the jobs on the market are visible publicly because it's a last resort for studios. When a studio needs someone, they are always going to be like, hey, folks at the studio, do you know anyone who can do this or that? If so, get us in touch. If they have nobody being recommended to them, now they are making a job offer. 90% of the jobs they are obtained for recommendation. That's how I got most of them through my career. And so most of my mentees are getting them too, through recommendation. This is how you gain back control. You can control who you apply, who you send a message to, who you ask feedback to, and if you apply that feedback and if you maintain that relationship. You cannot control anything with job offer. You do not control which studios are posting them, when they are posting them, for which job, which level of seniority, who applies there, in which order you are in the application queue, and there's nothing you control. For recommendation, the job offer doesn't even exist. There's not even a competition, and you are already validated by someone they trust. If you reach out to a studio and you say, hey, I am the best, it's going to sound arrogant. Can we agree on that? But if someone that works there that they trust is saying that person, that's the person for you, they are the best, it's going to sound different. That's what you want. This is how you get jobs, especially today, because everyone knows that the industry is in panic mode. They are shrinking. They don't have that much money. They want people who get it. They cannot afford to gamble on someone. They want recommendation. They want someone that they know for sure that has been vouched by as many people as possible as competent. So this is the main strategy right now. It gets back in your control and it makes you less desperate, because when nothing is in your control, no wonder everyone is crazy on LinkedIn. In addition to answering job offer on LinkedIn ArtStation, cold emailing, there's also industry events, and I will also add a Discord community and online. I talked about that just before by contacting Pro, and Discord is good. You have the rookies. You can join the Artnest Discord if you want, link at the end. This is how you build your network of pros. But industry events, things like Lightbox, Kind of Art, Promised Land if you speak Polish, Playgrounds, Concept 101. The Artnest is going to sponsor Concept 101, by the way. That's going to be pretty cool. This is the best way to get jobs, because you are bypassing the email filtering. You are facing someone that is willing to give you a chance, review your work, give you feedback. Just when you go to industry events, do not go there for the sole purpose of getting a job. Go there first for the event and consider the job opportunities as a bonus. And do not expect to be hired on the spot. That's rarely how it works. They are there to build relationship, to fill a catalog of candidates, and see who maintains the relationship with them. One last thing, make the habit of sending application as frictionless as possible. So a little quick tip that I give to my mentees to save time when searching for job offer. Have a dedicated browser. Let's say you are using Chrome, create Firefox. Have all the tabs for LinkedIn, ArtStation jobs, and company's career page with the proper filter open when you launch it. Set up the browser to launch when you switch your computer on. This way, every morning when you switch on your computer and you have your coffee, in 5 minutes you can scroll through everything. It's automatic. In 5 minutes you're done with your research. While if you are doing it manually, it will take you an hour every day, and actually you will drop out because it's tedious. Congrats, you know everything happening in the industry in 5 minutes instead of 1 hour a day. Make a spreadsheet to track all your applications. This is your personal database, and after a few weeks, follow up with an update on your work with extra stuff to the studio. Important. Make sure that the applications, you treat them as fire and forget. I know that when you are hungry for a job, you take it personally. When you get rejected, it's tough. Nobody likes to get rejected, me neither. But do not set impossible expectation every time you apply. Fire and forget. Send it, see it as a bunch of number, and you are forcing luck, but do not take it personally and forget about that. You need to get desensitized to rejection, because guess what? The entire job is about rejection. If it's not regarding jobs, it's when you're going to submit your work, 90% of it is going to go to the trash bin. This is not a bug, this is a feature, and this is okay. It's not you are a bad artist, it's just that it's the job, and your job is to solve problem and figure out the solutions. And most solutions will not be suited. And finally, while applying, start working on a second portfolio so you are not empty-handed. This way, best case scenario, you find a job, you have some stuff to share on ArtStation and collect likes. Worst case scenario, you don't have a job, or they want some extra. You have that extra to reapply and recontact the company. Conclusions. Whew, that was a long presentation. You adapt to the industry and give it what it wants. The industry doesn't adapt to you. If you refuse to conform to those rules, if you are only making the flashy pictures because you think you are special or that you are more intelligent than anyone else, guess what? It won't work, especially right now. If you skip the fundamentals, you won't get hired. I know that 3D is tempting. It's good, nothing against 3D, but you don't want to be a slave of one tool. You want to be able to combine the best of 3D and 2D to achieve the most efficient result. When everyone on our station does something, do the opposite. If it's trendy, it's already too late, and you would not stand out, you would just be another one. All right, little bonus. 5 minutes, I promise, and then we're done. A few tips to add value to your work. The first one is storytelling. We are entertainer, and storytelling is so overlooked in that race about technicity and rendering and flashy pictures and technical prowess. Each and every single of your design decision should be driven by storytelling, gameplay, and entertainment. You want to spark an immediate reaction when seeing your work. If I'm telling you a pitch, like, well, it's the story of this and that, no. If I'm telling you it's a MOBA, 5v5, pirate hero shooter where you have to pilot a ship, you have abilities, and you have to sink the enemy ship, everyone wants to play that, or at least me. You want to spark an immediate reaction when seeing your work. Something like this. I love that little bench with the cat. Everyone is like, oh my God, that's cute. You can touch it, you can hear it, you can feel it. It tells the story of those people with that little food plate, bringing food to that cat that gave birth to kitties. There is a scroll, so maybe you have to lure a kitty to get the cat mom to freak out, grab the kitty, and you can sneak your hand behind to grab the scroll. That's an ID. Same right here. We see those bats. One of them has been smashed by a lantern. The other one chopped by an axe that also chopped the table. We have a threatening letter, a doll, a family portrait. So we know that the child of that person probably got kidnapped. It seems to be a blacksmith surrounding dragons. It tells you a lot of things. If you design just a bench, it's going to be boring. All of that as a diorama, it tells a lot of story. It populates the scene. You are anticipating the future needs. Once it's modeled and textured, you need to populate the scene and make it alive. That chandelier telling the story, it's for the round table hall, it's above it. It's like the former knights of the round table that are watching over the next generation. Another thing, I know that a lot of you right now were like, oh my God, who is that guy bashing keyframes and my flashy cinematic stuff? I want to work at whatever flashy keyframe studio. Okay, what about this? Fake screenshot instead of keyframe. Because keyframe, we don't know anything about that. It's generally a bunch of dudes walking towards something or shooting each other. Fake screenshots, it allows you to give context around your design, around the type of game genre you are designing for. If it's a first-person shooter, you are not designing the weapons the same way as for a third-person shooter. If it's a first-person shooter, you do not see the same things on a character. It's going to be the forearm and the weapon. While on a third-person game, the back of the character is what you're going to see most of the time. The recruiter doesn't know that if you don't give them proper context. And a fake screenshot allows you to give that context to the recruiter so they know if your design is relevant for that type of product or not. Things like this. It doesn't have to be fancy or polished. So right there, we know it's a third-person game. Puzzle, adventure, a bit like Sea of Thieves. That's fine. We get it. Same right here. Stealth game. Very similar to Assassin's Creed. This guy got detected. They are ringing the alarm. Boom. This one, stealth game, going to be attacked. You have the map, you have everything you need to sneak around. You have they know it's for a game and they know which type of game is it overall. Even something a bit more sketchy like this, that's fine. That's a work in progress, by the way. But very good. A bit more like a Bloodborne, you know. Even sketches like this, it gives context about the abilities of parkour of the character and the fighting. Sounds good? Even something like this. We know it's a third-person game. And we realized right there that the back was a bit empty, so we added tattoos to indicate the ultimate ability of the character. It's going to glow when it's there. It's just that I don't have the screenshot yet. Next, paging and presentation is the easiest way to elevate the perceived value of your work and the user experience. look at the winners of the Rookie 2024-2023. Their presentation is always flawless and beautiful. It's not a mess, but it's not gray pages and nothing. Good work and bad presentation equals bad experience. It feels like you do not really care. And if you do not care about your work, they assume you won't care about their work. Good work and okay presentation is good experience. And good work plus good presentation, it's like the fancy sauce on a 2-star Michelin restaurant is going to make the dish absolutely unforgettable. It's going to feel premium. People are going to love it. Something like this. Like that. It's simple, you know. Something like this. There's a lot of mechanism being explained right there. Or like that. Like this. Like this. Even for the realistic, something simple like this, it feels like it's a product with that fake icon and everything. Finally, having fun and authenticity. I know it sounds like a very Oprah Winfrey type of feel-good stuff, but this is so important. Ticking the boxes of the company is not incompatible with picking a subject you are a mega geek about. Again, thanks to the video 110, the spirit of concept art. Go watch it. Add some silly stuff sometimes. Whatever emotion you put in your work, people will feel the same. You have fun, it's going to be fun to consume your work. It feels like a chore to you to make, it's going to feel like a chore to consume. It's just some sketches, and we know that Maria is already in love with doggos. We know that Marnix is absolutely a nerd about spaceships. This is his morning sketching routine. He's doing one per morning. Right there. Let's have fun. Let's do some silly stuff, you know. Same right here with the little cat seeing the fish right there. Let's have fun. Even right here. So yeah, even though all of that was very Machiavellian and straight to the point, you're there to have fun. You are here to sell entertainment. So remember about that, because we're going to feel it in your work. Oh, that's it, folks. It was a very intense presentation, 1 hour and 20. I'm going to reopen the chat if you have some question, if we have time, of course. One last thing. There is a link, theartness.academy/the rookies, to allow you to grab the slides of the presentation and also to get a few more videos. Is going to be about the pipeline, explain to you and how you can solve that as a concept artist and help people in the pipeline. And also how to fix the most common design mistakes for environment and character design. That's it. And you can also join the Discord.
Wow, that was amazing.
The video, by the way, it's only available until Sunday, May the 11th, because it's part of the mentorship. It's just for you folks.
Thank you, Timothy. Ooh. That was amazing. Definitely Q&A if you have time for that.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Drink a bit of water.
Yeah. A lot of people were praising that. That was really great. So much information.
Yes, that's cool.
So glad this is recorded, because I feel like there's so much to go back and look through.
Nice. I'm glad you liked it, folks.
Yeah, thank you. So if anyone has any questions, please write them. I know there was a few before, but it's quite difficult to go and find them because there's so many chats. So if you wouldn't mind writing them here,
sure.
Will the stream be available on YouTube later? Yeah, well. But Timothy, I'll leave it to you to answer them unless you want any help.
Yeah. Let's see if there are any questions. Oh my God, I see some people from the mentorship right there. Don't be shy, folks. I have some time. I don't care. I can spend the whole evening answering questions if needed. So that's fine. Do you have any advice on how to approach people getting portfolio reviews critique? Talking to people is scary. I know that, as I was saying, we are very shy creators as artists. There's not a magical formula. Especially at events. Let's start with events. Assume that every artist there, every pro's there. If you go to an event, you are okay with meeting people. So you are never going to invade their time. And if it's online, if it's to pros, do not send a copy-pasted message like, hey, I love your work. Can you give me feedback, please? If it feels copy and pastable to 50 people, it's not genuine. And why would they engage and spend their time with someone who did not bother sharing a bit of their time first. So be more something like, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. I am blah, blah, blah. Just 2 lines. I've been following your work for a long time, knowing that you work at that company, which I would aspire to work at eventually. I'm currently working on my portfolio in order to achieve goal. I wanted to ask you, if you have the time, would you be able to get a bit of your insight on that specific issue I'm struggling with to achieve that result? I've seen that you are a master of that in your work, and that I'm pretty sure you will be able to give me a way to solve it way easier than what I could figure out on my own. Thanks in advance. Something like that, at least personally, if I'm reading something like that, it's not a guaranteed answer, but I'm more likely to answer than, hey, I like your work. Can you give me feedback, please? Here is my portfolio. That would be that. Try to, you can even make a little template that you're going to slightly personalize in the first lines, of course. Try to share it to one artist. You're going to realize that worst case scenario, they ignore you. You're not going to die. I can guarantee you that the second message, you're going to spend just 1 minute sending it. Are the trainees usually paid for 3 to 6 months onboarding? Yeah, when they are hired, they are paid, so the paycheck are rolling. And also the seniors and leads training the person, they are paid, but they are not producing anything because they're spending their time training the person, at least partially. So that's also an indirect cost. Lack of productivity, they are getting paid to not bring money back. So that's why it's very expensive. Hiring a junior is the most expensive hire you can do in a studio. I've been told many times that portfolio making never ends. When does the time of saying, okay, now it's good enough to send application? Every time that's what I say to the mentees. If you wait to be ready, you will never be ready. I wrote a post on LinkedIn recently about perfectionism. Perfectionism is the biggest flaw that artists struggle with. It's human, that's normal. When you finish a chapter, start applying. Start doing another one in the meantime. When you have a second one, reapply everywhere, etc., etc. At the beginning, keep your expectations low. If you just have, like, say, 10 pictures, like 2 polished pictures and a bunch of design, it's probably not enough. But it costs nothing to spark a conversation, and maybe a few of them, they want to keep in touch, and that's already a massive win. So if we get back to the chapters, I would say at least 2 chapters, 2 chapters and a half. That's where you are very competitive. That's what I say to my mentees, at least. Is it okay to not have animation and character modeling skin as a 3D artist? Asking because I like creating props. I'm not an expert about that, but if you are specialized in props, in that case, you're going to probably get hired for props. That's okay. Not everyone has to be a generalist 3D artist. You can be a prop artist. Or I don't know, like a hard surface designer where you don't have characters, or an environment artist when you only have environment and props. You strongly recommend going to conference and event to network, bold capital on the net. Yeah, go to conference and events if you can. If you don't have the money, try to volunteer there. That might be a way to go there for cheaper, if not for free. Choosing a concept art that is unique and doesn't fall into categories that are popular, does that also apply to 3D character modeler for games too? For 3D, it's a bit different because you are not a designer, you are there to reproduce the concept art. So my tip, as I was saying, is pick find the concept artists who work at the studios you are aiming at, check their work that they are doing, that probably them hired, or they are doing on the side that is still similar enough to the product they are working on, and interpret that as a 3D model as if it was for a product of the company. Let's say you want to aim at Riot. Do not really recommend that, at least for concept art as a junior, but as a 3D artist, why not? Pick one of the Riot concept artists, grab one of the work they do for fun, and model that as if it was a Riot character. Will it be okay to have 2 portfolios? I make props, but I sculpt daily at work for 3D printing. I was thinking of making another portfolio for sculpt. Yes, potentially, if you do not spread yourself too thin, And also, it's a matter of time. You need to be able to, to still be efficient overall. You don't want to spend 2 years on a portfolio. And make sure you curate what you send. This way, if they don't care about 3D printing, you don't show it. Otherwise, they might be like, is it the best that that person can do? It might tank your portfolio. How to apply this knowledge, but for cinema concept art, exactly the same, except that you're going to do a bit more cinematic shot, like a sequence at the end. But think about gameplay. And the reason that I talked about gameplay is that the pipeline for game is a bit more demanding and surgical than for cinema. For cinema, what is not appearing in the camera, what is at the back of the character, what is outside of the shot, nobody will ever see that and they don't care. So they can cheat a lot more, they can figure out, they can hide stuff a bit more. While in a game, the camera is going to free float around and everything needs to work from any point of view. And also, if you mess up the optimization for movie, it's just going to cost a bit more render time, but the user and the people watching the movie are never going to know. If something is badly optimized in a game, it's going to clip, it's going to bug, it's going to lag. The player is going to experience that and be very angry and leave you a negative review that is going to tank your company and is going to cause layoffs. So very important. So TLDR, do the same thing, add a sequence for each chapter. How do you add authenticity to your portfolio when the genre of fantasy or sci-fi has been done to death? And how to make it unique compared to candidates? I don't know. You can talk about your culture. You can talk about subject that you like. You can talk about a book that has not been adapted too much. I showed you the work of Jess from Croatia. She did something that could be compatible with The Witcher, but with a lot of Croatian reference. That's already fresh. I have never seen a game with Croatian reference in it before. Recently, I have a student making something about a Slovakian myth of the Firebird. The Slovakian architecture is wonderful. I have never seen that before. That's just an example. You can tap into culture that are a bit less known, you know. If it's generic fantasy, okay, middle-aged 15th century European, yeah, it's boring. What about 16th century in Russia, you know? I've never seen that. I don't know how it looks. When it comes to specializing in stylized work, are there certain things that employers are more likely to ignore? This, like, for stylized, you cannot draw. If you cannot draw for stylized, you are in trouble, at least for concept art. You cannot BS your way through concept art with 3D and such for stylized work generally. You have to draw. That's important. And not understanding their style. You need to understand their codes. When you say ArtStation album, you mean your regular profile of ArtStation, not the one that ArtStation page powered by them. Yeah, the regular ArtStation, you create an album and you put your work in it. Do you have recommendation or resources for how to distinguish between our super geek passion and desirability beyond that? Ask yourself sincerely, would the studio I'm aiming at reasonably do that? Potentially. Like, again, to get that example of The Witcher in Croatia, or something compatible with The Witcher in Croatia, the tone is similar, the subject is a bit different, but that's compatible enough. So that's good. Let's say let's pick something for several companies. Let's say you want to aim at CDPR on The Witcher, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Baldur's Gate, all the RPG stuff. If you pick generic fantasy, again, it's going to be boring. But if we pick this kind of thing, as I was saying, like a 13th century Dark Age Inquisition in France, all the folklore is true. You play a heretic working secretly for the Inquisition to solve their problem and help them keep their control over the world. Depending on the style you are aiming at, it might be compatible with all of them. Even Assassin's Creed, you know, because it's historical, there's a sprinkle of fantasy, RPG component, open world, realistic, already ticks a lot of boxes. Can I ask about the mentorship, please? You're going to find a link down the free videos below where you have a video that is a bit similar to what the presentation I made, but less exhaustive, and also all the infos. And if you have any question, ask me in my DM. Send me a DM, folks. It's going to be easier than... I'm not here to do the advertising for my mentorship, but I think the results I share speak for themselves. So if at some point you're close to junior level and want to join, just DM me or apply. You will find a link scanning the QR code or following that link. You will see. More for 3D portfolio questions. Should I take pre-existing concept and recreate them exactly in 3D, or should I put a twist? No, recreate them. Your job as a 3D artist is not to reinvent the wheel, it's to be a technician. How would you recommend approaching a rejection email for a company that you really want to work at? Ask them for feedback, cost nothing, and reapply with proper work, showing a substantial level up later. And again, do not take anything personally. A rejection does not mean never, it just means not now. That's fine. That's the rule of the game. You're not going to be blacklisted if you get rejected. It's just that for now, they don't need your work, and that's okay. It's okay. You cannot win on the first try all the time. Is applying multiple times for the same company a bad idea? No, but you need to send them substantial update, and you need to avoid spamming them every week. But let's say you apply, you get rejected, you reapply in 3-4 months with a new portfolio, totally fine. I reach out to a lot of seniors and directors in the industry via LinkedIn for advice on what to focus on my portfolio. So I say not to specialize at the beginning and to display a bunch of different skills, character design, props, environment, 3D. However, a lot have also said to focus on one skill. That's exactly what they said. It's going to depend on the studio. And that's a research you have to do that I talked about in step 1. If all the artists working at the studio are all specialists, typically for outsourcing studios, they want specialists and you can afford to specialize. If they are a bit more generalist, typically production studio like Ubisoft, EA, Sony, Santa Monica, like the big one, not the outsourcing one, they want you to be like 70% something, 30% something, or 50, 30, 20, in order to flex in case your colleague being specialized in one thing is not there, you can still do a bit of their work. So it depends mostly on the studios you are aiming at. There's no universal rule about that. I've been told by the mentor that the first impression is the most important. Exactly. What is your opinion on reapplying to studios that have rejected you in the first impression wasn't qualified enough? Again, I answered that. Better work, better first impression. Make sure the first picture that they see of your portfolio is your best one. And potentially start with a call-out sheet. Because if you start with a keyframe, they're going to be like, oh no, another one. If you start with a call-out sheet of a big house or something like that, or a big turnaround that is complex with all the material sheet of a character, the ones that I shared before... oh my god, there's going to be a crap ton of slides. Let me show you. Let's say you start your portfolio with something like this for environment. When was the last time you saw something like that on station? Right there, you are literally screaming, see, I get it. I get it. I'm not one of those. Same right here, you start with this, or with the crazy griffin that I was showing before. I don't know where it is. Let's say you start with the griffin, start with this, and then immediately, boom, you show that. That's a massive visual slap in the face, and then boom, you get it. So, yeah, first impression is crucial. How long should you wait? I'll answer that. At least 3 months, probably a bit more for the time to redo a portfolio. Do you find that experience outside of the industry is factored into hiring? They don't care. All that matters is the 3 questions I mentioned at the beginning. Can you solve problem? Can you help the 3D team? Can you design and do their job? Previous experience, it doesn't matter. It works also for a junior. You look at the winners of the rookies, technically they have 0 experience. Some of them get hired as mid-level directly. Study their work. It's because they get it about what is required for production. I go to conference purpose. Should we network, learn socialize, and maybe jump hunt? Yeah, that's what I said. Specialization or generalization. Answer that thing. Should we start niching? A hard surface American industrial vehicle artist. That's too much. Hard surface. Just hard surface. How do you find multiple studios that do silk at niche game genre for big and small studio? Same principle as what I said at the beginning. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. To pay for my living expenses, I'm currently working a job related to 3D that is physically demanding and requires me to work 8-9 hours from either morning to late night. I can seem to find enough time to work on 3D. Any suggestion to a person who is in this type of situation? So if you have early shift, it's going to be a bit harder because generally I advise people to work on their portfolio before going to work. This way, that's when you have the most energy. It's like when you want to go to the gym, do not go to the gym after work. You are rinsed. So you're more likely to drop out. Another type of side job that is pretty good and relatively easy to get are the types of job where you sit and do nothing. Typically a receptionist at hotel at night, parking lot attendant, things like this where you are just sitting and waiting. Bonus point if it's at night, because you will have only 2 clients in 8 hours. So the rest of the time you can grab your tablet or your computer and learn and be literally paid to work on your stuff. It's a very ideal scenario. I'm not sure it's going to be accessible to everyone. And also working at night can be unhealthy. So it needs to be temporary. So, but that's an option if you want to have the most time available while working on your stuff. That's what a few of the mentees are doing, by the way. Is there a recording of these sessions? Since not everyone could attend the full stage, I'm pretty sure there will be one. Worst case scenario, you search the art team, the Art Nest on YouTube. There is a presentation called How to Craft a Portfolio That Gets You Hired that is very similar to that one. Would you recommend practicing your portfolio making skill by already picking a product you could make into a final portfolio? Yes. Or do you recommend making one-off sheets to practice? If you wait to be ready, you will never be ready. So do one, you will learn on the way. It's not going to be the best. Apply with that. In the meantime, make another one that is going to be better, and so on and so on. As a concept artist, is it valid to use 3D to make prop turnaround? Yes, definitely. Yeah. If your 3D is not requiring a 4D90 to render one frame, you know. If it's taking 24 gigs of VRAM to render, you cannot give it to the 3D team. If it's light and optimized, typically for callout, it is going to be better. That's okay. But if I have an average portfolio but working on another one, meanwhile, is it okay to send it to studio? Yeah, that's it. Costs nothing. The know you already have it. Costs nothing. Just do not take rejection personally. As I told you, I know as artists we are sensitive. We have been outcast since the beginning. All our parents are telling us, why are you not becoming a doctor? I know there is a lot of guilt when you are pursuing a job. As an artist, it was the same for me. There's a lot of guilt, and you want to relieve that guilt and that pressure, and the only way is to get a job. I know. You get the peer recognition, you get your parents to be relieved for you and happy, you start living, you're not broke, you're not looked weirdly, like, why are you not becoming a doctor? I know. But do not wait. And even if it hurts and we invest our ego and our identity a lot into the quality of our art and the recognition of peers, you must get used to rejection, folks. If you are perfectionistic, if you wait for the perfect moment to do it, or if you don't want to get any negative feedback and only perfect, you are not confronting yourself to reality. And crashing on reality is going to give you feedback, it's going to hurt, but this is also giving you a direct indication on what you need to improve to make it better. So the further you are delaying exposing yourself to the real world, the further you will be able to properly assess if you are ready or not, and if not, what to improve. So by trying to be perfectionistic and nail everything perfect on the first try, you're actually slowing down your improvement and your chances of success in the future. As counterintuitive as it sounds, I hope it makes sense. Is fan art bad for a portfolio? If it's a famous company like Blizzard, Riot that is used to fan art, I don't mind. I would prefer a fan skin rather than a fan art. But if you have a portfolio full of fan art, you're working on someone else's creative footprints. And generally, you only copy at a surface level what you are doing. What you're seeing, sorry. So not the best to apply. You need to solve problems, you know. One picture of fan art amongst 30 pictures for a portfolio, nobody cares. That's fine. But if it's 12 pictures of fan art and 5 pictures of concept art original, failed. Fan art is good for visibility on social media, for commissions and things like that, but not that much for job in my opinion. Unless, again, it's Blizzard, Riot, where they say explicitly that they like fan art. But just because they say they like fan art doesn't mean you should do a full portfolio of fan art. Would you avoid aiming at Eastern market games company like Square Enix, Altus? I think, if I understand correctly, you are referring to like Asian company, like Japanese, like a Square Enix, Capcom, From Software, things like this. Okay, bear with me. You better know how to speak Japanese, because a lot of Japanese or Asian companies, they only speak the native language. They tend to be a bit more culturally conservative than Western studios, so you have to conform to that. Better speak Japanese. So for those aiming at, let's say, Square Enix and such, look at outsourcing studios working for them. It's going to be easier unless you are already speaking the language like flawlessly. And you also need the visa, of course, which is tough. When applying for 3D artist or any other art-related role, do recruiter prefer a colored CV with single double colons or plain CV? Plain CV with single colon for the ATS. If you know for 100% sure it's going to be reviewed by a person, typically someone asks you for it, not a robot or not a spontaneous application. You can afford to have a fancy portfolio, CV, sorry, but when you don't know, assume there is an ATS. What are the recommended freelancing sites for 3D art graphic design? A freelancing site, I don't know that much. I'm currently working with Adapt One that is going to come very soon, but it's not ready yet. It's going to be invitation only. Freelancing sites, I don't know. Graphic design, Malt, Fiverr, but you're going to fight against a lot of people in third world country, and it's going to be hard to compete price-wise. So if you cannot be you have no advantage being the second cheapest, so better be expensive and be able to justify being expensive. What if the studio in my vicinity usually focus on outsource work and usually put out concept work for existing IP like Diablo and The Last of Us? Do I keep in mind the oh shit, another one category, or go for a more unique ID? Make an average of what they are doing. Just make an average, like Diablo, The Last of Us, I'm thinking about Opus Arts right now. Make an average of what they are doing. Try to find something in the middle, you know. You're welcome, Matthew. If you get feedback from someone you have networked with, how do you develop that into interaction where they will potentially remember you or recommend you for a position? Exactly as I said, your highest priority is to bring them a substantial update where you level up like crazy, where you have deeply and thoroughly applied their feedback. You send them a message, hey, I wanted to thank you again for that for your feedback you sent to me a few weeks ago. I applied that. Would you mind having a look? Thank you so much. I think I leveled up a lot. They're going to be very happy. It happens almost never. I've been giving tons of feedback at events. I have rarely seen someone sending me an update after. That's how rare it is. It's the same for recruiters at booths. Any art-related books you recommend for the fundamentals, or any books you recommend? How to Draw by Scott Robertson, Force by Mike Mathesi. If you join my Discord, you will find the free course, and I recommend everything. I have a free course recommending everything to learn art from 0 to pro. without breaking the bank. That's because I do not really like art schools in general. So I wanted to make my own curriculum and to save you money, folks. But yeah, How to Draw by Scott Robertson, Color and Light by James Gurney, Force by Mike Matesi, Frame the Ink. That's already a good start, I think. Any other question, folks? We've been speedrunning through that. Speaking of asking for and acting of feedback for portfolio, would you be willing to do portfolio reviews? I do not do portfolio reviews through DMs because I already have like 2,000 people who would ask that to me on my Discord channel. So if I say yes to one, it's unfair. However, if you want, folks, next week on my YouTube channel, join my Discord, click on the QR code again. Click on the QR code or join that link. I won't invade your email. You will have access to Discord. Join the Discord, get the free course. I'm going to announce that on my Discord. I will open a public portfolio review live if you want. So I will open the channel and let you submit your portfolio with a bit of context, and I will review them live if you want. That's what I can do with all of you folks. And you know what? I'm going to, for anyone who joined the QR code, I'm going to announce that through email to everyone so everyone is informed about that. How should we go at messages someone with more experience for feedback? Exactly what I said previously. You're going to see that in the replay, I think. As an artist who has invested a lot of time into learning how the game production pipeline goes and has done work like creating style guides and work on game jams in particular, how would you recommend showcasing that experience? That's your CV. That's in miscellaneous experience. I'm going to mention that. That's fine. That's already a little good point. Whew, we've been speedrunning through questions. What art director portfolio look like? Nothing. Because as an art director, that's the curse of art director. You are rarely drawing for yourself. You're scribbling on top of people and your portfolio disappears. And actually, you do not get walk through your portfolio anymore. You get walk through recommendation. Unless you're an art director at outsourcing studio, in that case, you tend to be the best artist in your division and also trained for managing people. Choosing a concept artist that is unique and doesn't fall into categories that are already popular, does that also apply to 3D character modeler for games? No. Pick a concept art from an artist working at the studio you are aiming at, that they do on their own, that is still compatible with the type of work they are doing. Let's say you aim at DICE. Find a concept artist working at DICE. Release some stuff for fun that is still similar to the product they do at DICE, and do that. Why would you become an art director if you can't art? Because managing people is very important. Someone needs to do that, and not everyone likes to do art or draw or dive into that. Some people just like the creative process. That's fine. And a lot of art directors, they were 3D artists because they tend to know the pipeline a bit better. So they can communicate with people better. It's not to say that concept artists cannot become an art director. I became one. But as soon as you become an art director, you draw way less, you manage people, and you're acting like a translator between the divisions, like concept art, game design, producer, tech, animation, all the different poles. You're in the middle of everything, and you have to make sure that nothing is lost in translation. Yeah, if you come from an IT, the interviews, warning, and recommendation feels like easy mode. Yeah. For artists, it's way easier than IT, I would say. I still have 10 hours of content about interviews and how to nail them and everything to avoid in the mentorship. So it's not to say it's easy, but I don't have 10 hours to explain all of that to you. And it will probably have lost everyone because you are there for the portfolio, not for how to nail interviews. But that's something I'm covering extensively because it's important, yeah. But if you do your research about the studio, if you are able to explain your process thoroughly, I can guarantee you're already ahead of 90% of your concurrents, at least for art. this is how bad artists are at the application. Again, you want to see how bad artists are at application, go read LinkedIn. You're going to lose faith in humanity. And all the time when you see angry people on LinkedIn, not all the time, but most of the time, you look at that and then you're like, okay, let's try to diagnose your situation. Okay, portfolio not matching any of the three questions I mentioned. So that this explains that. And also you have been flaming the industry for the last 3 years on LinkedIn, spreading vitriol everywhere. No wonder nobody wants to work with you. How do we get recommendation? I explained that. Get in touch with pros, build a genuine relationship beyond art, not just you trying to get something from them, but becoming friends. That's why going to event is so good. You make a lot of friends. Discord communities, all of that. Applying feedback to show you are teachable. And at some point, maybe they're going to recommend you. The good thing is that you can harpoon as many artists as you want for that. And it's a game of volume. You just need one to recommend you at the right company to change your life. So you're planting seeds for later, and everyone one is granting you result is going to be worth it. And approaching job hunting and all of that, I explained all of that in the presentation. So I assume you were probably not there before. I've been explaining that, so you will know it with the replay, don't worry. If you don't have a dream company to work at, what is the best way to narrow the focus if your portfolio is to enter the industry? It doesn't have to be a dream company, especially because most dream companies, they are senior only for most of us. Like, I'm guessing a lot of people here wants to work on The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, the latest Expedition 33, Baldur's Gate, Riot Games, Blizzard, Cyberpunk, The Witcher. Those are senior heavy studios. So try to break down the characteristic of those games and try to find studios that are junior friendly, that are doing similar stuff. Let's say you want to work on The Witcher, senior heavy. Okay, RPG, historical, a bit of fantasy, third-person game, open world. Assassin's Creed is very close to that, you know. Third-person, open world, RPG, a bit of fantasy, historical, realistic. Ubisoft is hiring juniors, for example, potentially on Assassin's Creed. You want to work on Cyberpunk, again, senior heavy. I talked with Remy Nowakowski. Sorry for butchering his name. I do not speak Polish. He told me that it's senior only. They are the rock stars of the industry working on that project. Okay, a bit hard. For example, Massive and Ubisoft working on Rainbow Six or working on The Division. Still pretty close. It's not sci-fi, but you have a lot of technology, so that may be a good entry point. Hope it makes sense. Oh my god. Sorry for the tail. That's the cat. Oh my god. I have to push the cat to see the chat. Is there a space for VizDev moment in a portfolio in the video game pipeline? VizDev is mostly for stylized work to define the art direction of it. It's a word used generally for concept art for animation or for style development. So it's at the very, 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 very early stages of the pipeline for game dev stylized. Whatever sketching idea work process is good to include in a portfolio. Black and white sketch or grayscale design upfront. The rendering doesn't matter for as long as your IDs are clear. So what I say to the student is something I call the 1-2-3 rule. Make sure that the main selling point of your design are clear enough. The rest you can suggest it a bit. Let's say you do a character, the face needs to be a bit more detailed. The gameplay element, typically the arms and the weapons, needs to be developed. And generally a third element tied to storytelling, like the chest or the waist, is going to be developed a bit, enough to understand the thing. It doesn't have to be fancy, just enough so anyone can understand the thing. Kitty, you are jinxing my presentation. The cat's name is Vega, and there's going to be a second one coming home on Sunday called Hades. All black. Is it possible to get a job or join a studio in the free art industry without formal school certificate if I have a strong self-taught portfolio? Let me tell you an anecdote about that. I talked about that in one of my videos on YouTube. Feel free to check How I Got Hired at Ubisoft video on my YouTube channel if you want to know the full story. But basically, December 19th, 2016, I'm applying to Ubisoft. The next day, I'm receiving a positive email, and they are asking for a phone interview with the HR to better know who I am, etc. The phone interview is happening on December 23rd. I'm in the family home. My grandparents and my mom are baking the Christmas cake while I'm upstairs, anxiously waiting for the phone call. The HR calls me, introduce herself in like 5 seconds, and then the first question is, so you got a degree, right? In my head, I was like, it was at this moment in knew he effed up. And I was shaking, I was very scared, and I said, no, actually, I did not finish graduating. I finished as a self-taught. And she cut me, no, actually, we prefer. And it's not a generality, but it's just that some schools, they have bad reputation, and they know that, and there's a lot of bad habits. As a self-taught, if you are good enough, it shows that you are autonomous, which is a massive quality at work. It shows that you know how to behave with yourself and how to get stuff done. So not a bad thing, not an argument in your favor. Getting a degree, I'm not saying it's useless because it can be very helpful for visa. For example, because I have no degree at the beginning, it was very hard for me to get a visa abroad. So that's why I stayed in France. But after 3 to 5 years of experience, it was possible now that I have experience, So that's fine. You're self-taught, that's okay. Don't worry. You're at school, that's okay also. Is it easier to get into concept for games or films? It's going to depend on where you live. If you live in Europe, it's going to be way easier in games because we don't have that many films industry. Most of them are in London, and due to visa reason with the Brexit, it's very hard to access now. Or else in Eastern Europe, like Bucharest, Hungary, and things like this. Well, it's still doable, but it's small, and it's only the best of the best. At some point, I wish I'm supposed to do an interview with Jules from Framestore, one of the concept artists. There's only 5 concept artists at Framestore in the entire world. They picked the best, most savage artists ever. So in Europe, it's very, very demanding. Unless you work for an outsourcing studio, like for example, Pixeloid, Room 8, Double Negative, things like this, where it might be possible. If you're in the US, I do not know that much the US market on movies. I'm not in California. I'm in Europe right now. But it's not doing great at the moment. Especially because there have been an announcement regarding potential tariffs. I'm not here to dive into politics, folks. But this is getting the movie industry to think a lot, let's say. So I would say overall it's probably easier for games, but don't take that with a grain of salt, okay? I don't know the full story for Hollywood and all of that. I'm a VFX artist. I'm promoting my base piece on LinkedIn and showing my process on Blue Sky. Is there anything else that I should do to promote myself? So it's easier to be found. First of all, Blue Sky, there's almost nobody on that thing. I know there's a bunch of artists, but it's not a social network for job. Same with Twitter. You never know, it costs nothing. Same with Instagram, it costs nothing. But it's just that the attention span on those is small. For VFX, I would say Behance. And LinkedIn is fine. ArtStation would be interesting too. And then cold email. Cold email. Is it easier to get concept for film? We talk about that. Cat name. You're familiar with Spanish video game industry? Not that much, unfortunately. Are the tariffs impacting gaming and movies as well? Again, not to dive into political, and there has been an announcement recently to impose tariffs on movies. Let's wait and see what's going to happen, okay? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a financial expert. I don't even know if it's going to pass or not, So wait and see. And the industry is going to adapt. It's not going to die. Worst case scenario, studios from Hollywood are going to move in another country, and that's it. That's fine. Let's not talk about politics and whatever. I'm pretty sure it's against the rule of the rookie server. But it's been announced like 2 days ago, so nobody knows. Or to ask for relocation. As a junior, it's tough because it costs a lot. It depends if you mean relocation or visa sponsorship. Relocation, generally, that's okay. That's part of the package if they want you at the studio, so that's fine. It should be part of the package. And it's something you can, that should not be an argument to lowball your salary when negotiating. It's a given. If they want you at the studio, they have to help you relocate. Visa sponsorship before and mid-level is going to be tough to get. So if you are from a country outside of the hotspot of the industry, and you cannot move to a hotspot, aim at studios looking at freelancers. As I said in the part 1 of the presentation. If you're an artist whose ultimate goal is creative art direction in games, does it make sense to choose concept art as an entry point, experience and connection? It doesn't matter. There's no special guide on how to become an art director. Nobody has the same, how can I say? No art director started the same way as each other. Yeah, concept art is fine. Get informed about the pipeline. And another tip about the pipeline as a concept artist, or as anyone, regardless of your job, you're going to swap concept art for your job. You want to become irreplaceable at the studio. You want to really know what to do when you arrive. Everyone is always freaked out when you are arriving, imposter syndrome kicking, etc. Go at the coffee machine during your break and talk to people from other divisions like the 3D artist, game designer, VFX artist, rigger, tech art, coders, writers, anyone. And you ask them, okay, when you are working with concept art pieces, what are your biggest complaints and what do you wish was done differently that will save you a lot of time and headache? Collect the data, implement that in your work. You're going to become irreplaceable very fast and everyone is going to love you. Is it easy to get your second job after you enter the industry? Yes, only if you keep looking for opportunities and you keep doing that maintenance when you are already hired. That's a pitfall that I could not talk about in the presentation because it was out of subject, but now that we're at it, let's talk about that. The biggest mistake that a lot of artists do, and not just junior, even big guys at like Blizzard, Riot and such, is that when they get hired, even in their dream studio, they soften up, they relax, they start melting on the chair like that, and they stop networking, they vanish for social media, they stop kindling their network and their opportunities. It's understandable to want to relax, but it does not cost that much to spend maybe 1 hour per week of maintenance. And the problem is that if you do not do that, let's say you've been working at Blizzard for 15 years, that's what happened to a lot of people with the Waves of Layoff last year, is that they worked at Blizzard or big studios like Riot and such. No networking, all their work is buried in the NDA forever, so they barely have a portfolio. And they got laid off. They don't know how to send a CV anymore. They have nothing to show. And they live in California where the cost of living is like 15 Gs a month. This is hell. So it's pick your poison. Do you want to relax and chillax, but always have that little voice in your head telling you, hey buddy, if you lose that job, you're in deep trouble, or spend an extra hour a week to do a bit of maintenance, have opportunities, have studios who potentially want to work with you, and if they want to work with you, they have to pay you more to get you, to justify getting you, and you can sleep well. To me, the question is easily answered. You want that. That's something I say to the mentees, and I don't want it to appear like being disloyal to studio. It's the game. We are mercenaries. The best moment to apply for jobs is when your schedule is full. Because if they want you, they have to give you more money and better projects. So that's not only the possibility to get jobs, that's the guarantee to get better jobs. If you want to stay at the studio you are currently at, now you have an argument to ask for a raise. Like, hey guys, I love working with you, but I have that offer. It's substantially more. It's hard for me to ignore. I would love to stay with you. Could you align with that? That's the fastest way to increase your salary. Do not wait for it. You're not telling them, hey, if you don't pay me, I'm leaving. You're saying, give me an argument to stay. I want to stay, but I want to be able to disregard that offer and not think about that. If you have done good work, if they like you, that should be okay. What's the best way to find out the company outside? I talked about that in the first part of the presentation. That's the chapter 2. How important are functional design and how functional should one aim for? Just 3D clarity, yeah. You need to have everything functional. You don't trust me? Have a look at Feng Zhu's video, The Spirit of Concept Art. Video 110 from Feng Zhu on YouTube. It's going to explain that a lot. And also, click on the QR code or write the link, theartnest.academy/therookies. Go check the videos about the pipeline explain. I'm explaining everything about it. For students entering the industry, what do you think there's a difference in getting a job as a freelancer versus in-house? No, it's going to depend on your visa. And I think I talked about that a lot. Like you have a visa allowing you to move, that's good. You're playing a bit on easy mode. You do not have that privilege. You are in a country aside from the hotspot of the industry, or in a, let's say, third world country. I mean, that with zero disrespect. And visa restrained. Look at companies for freelancing, because that's your only, not the only, but that's the safest way to start. If you want to know more about that, I did an interview with Leo Avro from One Pixel Brush. He's from Indonesia. It's on my YouTube channel. He's explaining about that. You have to be extremely aggressive on social media. By aggressive, I mean outgoing for work, not yelling at people. So you are starting a bit on a harder mode, but the opposite side of the coin is that once you get job in international pricings, you live like a prince in a low-income country. That's the difference. Sorry, Star. Do concept artists also get hired for other roles in the pipeline as storyboarding or illustration? Sometimes, but focus on concept art for your portfolio. That's all that matters. How long should I expect to spend learning my own as a self-taught 3D artist before I'm ready to enter the industry professionally? It's going to depend only on you and your ability to learn and the quality of what you're learning for. So it's hard for me to give you a proper guesstimate. It would be needed to assess your work, where you are, what might be your struggle. And if you find the right teacher, it can go pretty fast. Let's say a year or so, you can almost be ready if you have the right teacher. But I'm not specialized into 3D, I'm specialized into concept art. So it will be hard for me to give you a professional guesstimate, especially because I don't see your work. Next question. What's the first step you've seen someone go from junior to pre-junior to SIG Pro? From pre-junior to SIG Pro, I would say 6 months. That's already insanely fast. I'm not saying from 0 to pro, don't get me wrong. Like pre-junior to SIG Pro, 6 months, being diligent, that's good. You can probably go faster if you are really mentored. Personally, when I dropped out of school, I was not at junior level. I dropped out in May. I got my job in January. after. So it's like 7 to 8 months. And I was crunching a lot, like working like 14 to 16 hours a day, streaming on Twitch in front of 2 people. It was because my life depended on that. In niches that work together for transferable skills like props, hard surface, weapon. I mean, hard surface, you can transition then to vehicles, to props, to weapons. Weapons are very common, so more competitive thing than just full props. Vehicles are very hard, so it's more senior heavy. Environment and props go along very well, like furniture and all of that. Character and props and costume are very good. Character and creature are also important. Character and a tad bit of 2D VFX for the abilities are pretty cool. That would be it. My cat wants attention. I'm pretty sure you'll hear him. Next question. Between props, environment, character, what is the thing most commonly a freelancer work on? No specific thing. There's generally more demand for environment than characters, period, at least for concept art. But for freelancers, it doesn't matter. It's just that they have a need, whatever it is, it's kind of random. A bit of niche work too. Generally, that's more common as a freelancer. The reason they hire freelancer for niche work is that they don't have enough work to give you a full-time job for years. Let's say you are doing only creatures, which I do not recommend for junior portfolio, by the way, it's too niche. It's going to be, let's say you apply to a game, they have a few creatures, but it's not enough to justify full-time work. They're going to have you work as a freelancer or part-time and then finish the contract. Unless you're working on a game like Monster Hunter or Baldur's Gate. That's it. Anyone else? Let's answer, let's say 2 more questions and then call it done, I guess. If there are 2 more questions. How many things do you recommend focusing on before one gets spread thin? That's a very broad question. As I was saying, I like the 70-30 ratio, like 70% one specialty, 30% the other. Be 70, 20, 10. And again, those numbers, they are just a bit abstract. I think you can understand what I mean with that in terms of repartition across your portfolio. But it's not a binary thing like, oh, I have done this percentile and this percentile, so I'm this percentile of a pro. We are not in a video game, it's very subjective. But in any case, always have props. So props for characters is weapon, costume, things like that. For environment, it's furnitures, mechanics, things like this. If you want to extend on characters, do some creatures and 2D VFX. You want to expand on environment design, do potentially vehicles. That would be it. Would it be irrelevant if I had UI and FX, props and environment background focus portfolio? For the fake screenshot, no, but I would not show pure UI design. Otherwise, you will apply for 2D art job and you are down the rabbit hole of crappy mobile game jobs. So careful about that. Just keep a bit of UI for the fake screenshot if you have any, and that's all. But that's not your job. If what I really like deep down is niche concept, is it still okay to work on my portfolio? So Gundam, Pilot, Hard Surface, you'd better be very, very good at that, but sure. But it's niche. Expect difficulty, and if you want to start with that, you have to be extremely good at that. And for anyone, by the way, it sounds easy. I mean, actually, I don't think it sounded easy during my presentation, but that's the easiest I can make it. I know right now it looks like it's hard to find jobs. It has always been. Back in my days, something like a grandpa, it was already hard to find jobs. Maybe not to find, but to get one, it was quite tough, and only the best of the best who get it were getting jobs. Just because I say that doesn't mean it's impossible. It's not to shatter your dream, but it's for you to get realistic. This is a very competitive industry. Paradoxically enough, the industry is craving talents, even right now. It's just that they cannot find the right talents. And a lot of the flops that you got in project, it's because they did not hire the right persons. So it has always been competitive. It will always be. If it was that easy, everyone would do it, you know. Any tips on bringing fun back into concept art? Sorry, my cat is making the reading hard. I've grounded 4 years in art school and are trying to grind character design, and I think I may have never found the fun. Try to reconnect to what you liked as a kid. When I look at my work, it's and if you look at my old art station, which is not updated and which I barely had to update across my whole career. You look at my owls, which is what I was doing when I was a student. It's clear that my inspiration is like Harry Potter. It's clear. I've always loved it, and it's the kind of stuff I'm inspired for, and also medieval stuff. I've been doing historical and medieval stuff my entire career. I'm a big knight nerd. I've been growing on Greek mythology, Arthurian legends, myth and monsters, things like this. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. You talking to us for design critique right now? No. No, we're going to end the stuff pretty soon. It was not a design critique. But as I was saying, for anyone who join, you can grab the slide of the presentation, by the way, and I'm going to grab your email, but I'm never spamming it. So that's fine. I'm not going to abuse your email, but I'm going to keep you informed when I'm making a public poll for a review. And you know what? Let's make one next week. That's fine. I'm going to do it live. So that's the moment where you can potentially ask for a review, but I'm selecting those I'm going to review. No, don't worry, Digi. Sorry, I'm not going to butcher your name. Pixel art too niche? Yes, that's 2D art. You need to be willing to do that. I'm not saying there's no job in it, but it's going to be more competitive, and it's not really concept art. As a 3D artist, you need to show the full breakdown with the poly count and everything. Document your stuff as if it was a making of. Any more artists you can recommend checking out? All the students from the Art Nest. Join the Discord of the Art Nest. Look at those with the light blue name. It's going to be easier. Look at the winners of the rookies. That should be enough. And schools of the winners of the rookies. You might find more great students. The Art Nest is going to participate to the rookies, by the way. Hopefully we're going to do good. I think that's it. That was a long session.
Wow.
Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it, folks. You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. It was amazing.
No, thank you so much. That was amazing. It was worth every minute. And would you mind if you put the link to your Discord, or I didn't want to because it would mess up the recording. Did you put an invite?
Sure. Let me put it in the chat. Copy the link.
Because there are open channels, aren't there, for everyone?
Can I put it in the chat right now?
Yeah.
Here we go.
There you go. It's there.
There we go. So feel free to join. And again, if you clicked on the QR code, you're going to have access to the Discord too. So if you're watching the replay, do not worry. You want to join, it's open to the public. As long as you know how to behave. that's fine. We are very welcoming. We have a lot of people working together. Those close to junior level or above it who want to consider the mentorship, you're going to find the instruction. You can DM me or you're going to find it. Don't worry. That's fine. And yeah, I'm going to do a portfolio review live next week. I'm going to announce that on my Discord. So check out the announcement in Discord and you're going to see the instructions. All right, we're done.
Thank you.